sure and cough in.
Yeah, just cough as much as you want. It's fine.
Cough in his ear.
Yeah.
Now I'm feeling good. I think I coughed myself out. Pretty rough shape. It's all the what do you call it? The wind.
The
It's been
wind.
so windy
It has been pretty windy.
and like kicking up a lot of dust because it hasn't. When was the last time it rained? Month.
Uh, yeah, I want to say early November was the last time it rained, and it was very briefly too. It was like a single afternoon.
You know, I can't hear any music.
You can't. How about now?
I know. I hear it. No, it's on your speaker.
Oh, that's the wrong one. I hit the wrong button. There we go. How about
I-
now? Well, actually, the music stops, so we're gonna have to wait for another song to start.
Oh, okay. Well, do without it. Wait. Barely hear it.
Okay,
Yeah,
then it's at the
there it
right
is.
level. I probably hit A2 instead of
Okay.
B2 on my mixer by accident.
Oh, okay.
Because I think
Seems-
A2 is this monitor, and B2 is
Okay.
supposed to inject it through my microphone. That's okay. The channel itself is independently set on OBS, so music ran through the entire opening. We don't have to worry about that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. It just seemed way too quiet.
Yeah. Well, it would have been quiet because I don't have that channel active once we go live, so they wouldn't have heard the music after that point either. They only hear what goes through my microphone. So if it's not going through my microphone now, they wouldn't hear it. It's just easier for me to mute that channel after we hop on than it is to try to like find a proper volume level for it.
Oh.
And then for
So there's
everyone
never
else-
music playing?
Oh, there's always music playing. Like what you hear
Really?
coming through like your headphones through my microphone. Also, like that microphone gets picked up for there too. Like that's just my normal microphone sound. So they hear the same level of music you hear.
But the music is coming through your microphone?
Yeah, it's a injection.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah,
That's-
so it's the same
weird.
channel
I'm
that my
glad
mic
you're the
channel
producer.
is. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just easier for
Glad
me
you're
to do that. That like whatever anybody who in call would hear is also what the audience hears once we hop on. But once we get off,
Right.
I put that other channel back on because I want to mute both of us.
All right.
Mhm. Anyhow, welcome to
well
Game
start.
Central Junction, everyone. As always, I'm your host, Metal, and joining me is my co-host, Marsupial Gamer, who is glad that I'm the one running production. If you're watching, please share it out with somebody else. Have a good time, whether it is now or in the future. If you're watching this as a VOD. And if you enjoy yourself, you can always consider giving a donation to streamlabs.com/vomitoriumlive. Really helps us out, but it's not mandatory, just appreciated. And with that, let's start talking about things, because we talked about quite a few things before we hopped on. So we got to retread some conversation.
Yeah. I mean, clearly, apparently we discovered that we do not speak the same language when it comes to Ninja Gaiden.
Apparently, yeah. Your language
We were
is like
very-
trapped in the late 80s while everybody else has been updated since then.
Yeah. Because I've literally not, no, early 90s. Yeah. I haven't played a single
Yeah.
Ninja Gaiden iteration since the 1991 version of Ninja Gaiden 3.
Yeah.
I'm like, Gaiden 3 was 3D? What? Sure. Like,
Yeah,
what are
yeah,
you
yeah.
talking about? It's like, yeah, Ninja Gaiden 3 Black was 3D. What are you talking about? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Not what I was talking about. But it's all
So
good.
yeah, we're gonna have this problem very, very soon in this upcoming like next decade, where everybody's gonna be talking about Final Fantasy VII, and they're going to be exclusively talking about like the remake series and not the original Final Fantasy VII. And I'm already prepared for that.
I know.
I will hate it, but I will know that's what they're all talking about and not the original Final Fantasy VII
Yeah.
I preferred.
They're gonna be like, so did you like what part of Final Fantasy VII did you like the best? 1, 2, or 3? And
Yeah.
I mean, like disc 1? Were there 3 discs?
Or are you talking
There
about
were, but-
Intergrade? There's some subparts in there too.
What? I don't remember. I remember having to switch discs on my PS1, but but yeah, I played the crap out of Ninja Gaiden 1, the NES that came out in 1980 something. Beat it. Never beat 2 or 3. Never played any of them after that.
Yeah.
But apparently, well, that was why I was so excited when they announced, guess it's a spin-off now, a new 2D Ninja Gaiden.
Oh, that's also why I was excited. But mine probably
Yeah.
more so is because I've played 3D Ninja Gaiden, so I was excited to see it be 2D again. But like you're just missing that entire period of time, so it just seems like it's the next Ninja
Well,
Gaiden.
Yeah, no, I mean, I knew they existed. I actually didn't even know that they were considered to be remakes of the
Yeah,
original.
more or less. Yeah.
I just thought, oh, it's 3D now. All right, well, not interested, but at any rate, I was excited about the 2D one also because I know it's been 3D forever.
And I just think
long
the 2D
time.
ones are better.
Yeah. And I just, after we had this confusing discussion, I was like looking up, like, has there ever been a remaster or remake? And one fan made a version of the first stage of the first Ninja Gaiden using Unreal Engine. That's what it needs to, that's what we need.
Yeah. I just, outside of fan remakes, I don't know if that's ever going to happen. Maybe if the 2D one sells well enough, that might convince them to do it. So everybody buy the
I hope
2D
so.
game.
I mean, so, and you pointed out that Team Ninja, this is their sort of their
The
flagship
bread and butter. Yeah.
franchise, right?
Yeah. It's like the whole reason they were named is because they
Yeah.
took over Ninja Gaiden when they brought the series back. So
Mm-hmm. See, what Team Ninja needs to do is take a look at Mercury Steam and do that. They're the ones that did the remake of Metroid 2 and Metroid 5.
yeah, but they're
And they
also the
did-
ones who did a 3D Castlevania sort of remake in a way with the Lord of Shadows.
Yeah, but okay.
Hmm.
But they took that experience, I guess, and made a couple of great games
Well,
that were all 3D
I'm actually gonna
assets, and there were 3D assets.
I'm going to compare these two. The reason I think they made a 2D Metroid is the same reason I think they made a 3D Castlevania. It had nothing to do with what they wanted to do, and more of what the people who are paying them to make the game wanted to do, right? So even though this is
Yeah.
Team Ninja's bread and butter, this is what the people at Koei Tecmo at the top want them to make. So we need to yell at Koei Tecmo. That's
Okay.
what we need to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be like, look at Metroid Dread. It's cool, obviously 3D stuff, assets, and there's some back and forth, but it's
Yeah.
a 2D side scroller. It's a Metroidvania. That's what they need to do. They need to. It could have been called a Metroid Ninja Vania Gaiden.
Gaidenvania.
Yeah. Or Metroid Ninja.
Yeah, because from what we could tell from the little teasers that were put out, the 2D Ninja Gaiden does look like it might be bordering into like the Metroidvania category. We're not quite sure if it's
Yeah.
completely linear or if there's backtracking yet. There's not enough to tell, but it kind of looks like it could be going either way. But if we want to rewind the clock from before Castlevania was even technically in the category you call it now, all of them were linear too, at the same time that the old Ninja Gaiden games were made. So it wouldn't be nonsensical that it would evolve into the same direction.
Yeah. Of course, Metroid was always...
Yeah, Metroid was always that way.
But yeah, up until... well, that's funny. We were just talking about Final Fantasy VII. Things are listening to us. I open up YouTube and there's a bunch of...
No, actually, I have a lot of
videos.
stuff pulled up for Final Fantasy VII as well, so I think that's on our IP.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, oh yeah, until Symphony of the Night, Castlevania was not a Metroidvania.
Yeah.
After Symphony of the Night, that's all it was. You're like, oh my god, that game went so well. They're all going to be like that now.
Yeah. That's also to the modern definition, right? Because people were still already using the term as early as Super Castlevania 4, even though you wouldn't qualify the gameplay in that to what we call a Metroidvania now.
Yeah, there was no backtracking.
There's no backtracking, right? So, like, people just already related those two games together, even though there wasn't backtracking in it.
I
And Rondo of
constantly
Blood,
doubt
too.
Everything you say, man.
Yeah.
That's it. I actually don't vouch you there. I'm surprised, but yeah, we have a lot of videos because there was an Xbox.
There was like a
showcase.
Yeah. In the bulletin board, I have the video title for the Ninja Gaiden 4 official thing. It's Developer Direct is what they call it. There's the Developer Direct 2025.
Yeah, that. Yeah, and I have a bunch of things lined up, so I guess we'll be playing videos today and
Yeah.
looking at new things.
But we already started with Ninja Gaiden, so I think we should probably stick with Ninja Gaiden for the moment. Yeah, in that Developer Direct, not the one we were talking about, the 2D kind of spin-off one that had already been announced back at, like, I think it was the Game Awards is when we saw that trailer. And they announced that there was going to be a remake for the Ninja Gaiden 2 Black version, the 3D one, which is out today. Now, that's already just available. If you are interested in that game, you can pick that up right now. It is a solid game, but that's if you really like 3D Ninja Gaiden or not. They also put out a trailer for Ninja Gaiden 4, which I don't think has a subtitle, since there was, to my knowledge, never a Ninja Gaiden 4 following like the Black series. This is just Ninja Gaiden 4.
Yeah. Of course, not a sequel to the real Ninja Gaiden 3.
Yeah. But, somehow they're all still kind of sort of following the same storyline. So if somebody cares about the story, this is the sequel you're getting.
I want to watch this. It's called Ninja Gaiden Ragebound. I would rather watch that.
Yeah.
No, we're pretty...
We have already seen that one, which again, it looks good. Well, I'll definitely probably play it if we get it. But
Oh, sorry. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Oh, hey, Mike. Thanks for dropping by.
Oh.
Here we go. Let me.
Yeah, I thought I'd
get us full screened. There we go.
Yeah. So this is Ninja Gaiden. Well, actually, this is Ninja Gaiden 4.
Yeah, this is 4.
I guess I need to look up the. Okay. Oh, I guess. But. So we didn't know they were doing we didn't know they were doing a Ninja Gaiden 4.
No. This came out of nowhere. We only knew about the remake to Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, and we only knew about the what's it called, Raging something.
I don't know. Rage Against the Machine.
Ninja Gaiden Rage Against the Machine, sure.
Yes. Rage Against Team Ninja.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike.
Yeah, I've always liked Team Ninja. as a developer, even if like I've had complaints about the game. Like we were just talking about Other M before, and I do have a lot of complaints about Other M. I personally thought it was a good game, just whether you cared about the story or not, which you said you didn't care about the story. From most aspects, it didn't feel like it fit Metroid.
Yeah.
But I think they always kind of do well when it comes to developing the game, even if you get nitpicks on it.
See that dragon skeleton?
Yeah.
So is that Ryu? No.
No, that's Raven. That's the other guy.
Who the hell is Raven?
He's from a different clan.
Is he like... Okay. Like what? Why? Why do we need two guys? Is he different in any way?
Yeah, he's different. He's got like different abilities and everything. I think we're having trouble with your end. Is it playing for you? Because like I have the yellow...
Yeah.
The yellow stream issue thing.
Yeah, it looks beautiful.
Yeah.
I paused it.
Yeah, I'm getting like 2 frames every 30 seconds.
Oh. I need to slow it down.
Nope, here we go. Now it's starting to do it.
Just need to catch up a little. Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah.
Wow, that is really jumpy. What's up?
Yeah, but it's like it's not the type of Ninja Gaiden gameplay that I've ever really liked. But for what it is, it looks good. Like it just looks like newer versions of the old stuff they used to do.
Yeah. Why does it keep pausing?
The bits of boss fights they've showed off though look a little too emulating Sekiro for me, but I guess that's what's popular now. So if you see a popular thing, you're gonna try to like work that in. The normal fights against like mobs, right? The grunts and everything, that looks like normal, like what I'm used to from the 3D Ninja Gaiden games.
Man. Yeah, like I lowered it to 480 to see if that makes any difference. I guess a little bit. But
yeah, we saw that Ryu was there too. There was even like a little classic sequence where he's like flipping back and forth off walls through like a tunnel. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Was that what that was?
Yeah. That was Ryu doing his thing. You're going to play as both characters. Kind of reminds me how in Devil May Cry 5, you split between the 3 characters, so each one has like a route that you're going back and forth between. Which, I mean, other games have done that too. I mean, you go back, Sonic Adventure 2 did that. But that seems to be the flow of this game, is that you're going to go back and forth between Ryu and Raven.
Oh, okay. Then they fight each other?
Yeah, they are from competing clans.
Okay. So which one are you controlling in that?
I don't know. Maybe it's got to be like in Sonic Adventure 2, there's a like a good guy's side and a bad guy's side. And you end up fighting both people depending on which side your playthrough you're playing. So it might be like where Sonic and Shadow fight in the jungle, and you have to do the fight from both directions in both the Sonic playthrough and the Shadow playthrough. That might be the case. I don't know. We'll find out more after, like when they put out more information.
Yeah, I'm gonna just reset my network card real quick.
Oh, okay.
Make sure that. But you can keep do that.
As it is. Gonna figure out where my headspace was. Yeah.
Remember when I was having trouble with my internal Wi-Fi, and I got that external. Somehow my internal one got re-enabled. Maybe that was the...
Oh. That happens sometimes, though. Like, mine did that a few times. We talked about, like, before we got the new card, and when we got the new card, I had to disable my internal one again. But after, like, certain Windows updates, they'll just, like, re-enable the things that they suspect should be enabled, which I hate.
All right. I'm going to disconnect myself.
Yep. So I'm going to be solo for just a minute. But yeah, so one of the things that I was talking about offline before we came on is that this isn't just being made by Team Ninja. It's going to be made in part with Platinum Games. And Platinum Games has been very iffy when it comes out to putting games. A lot of their original stuff has been pretty good, but that was also back when Hideki Kamiya was leading and directing their games. A lot of their licensed games have been absolute horseshit, and it almost felt like they were funneling a lot of their money from the licensed games to Kamiya's games. I don't know if that was the case or not. That's just like a joke that we would throw around. I think it's just more the fact that Kamiya doesn't direct those games, so it's just like the teams working on their own, and they're just not as competent, right? So they also did good under Yoko Taro with Nier Automata, and also his game Astral Chain that they made for Switch. That was criminally undersold, but a good game. So maybe it'll do well just because Team Ninja will be telling them what to do in a similar vein, and they'll just execute it. But I don't know. It's just everything's always iffy when we're dealing with Platinum Games. Especially the people in charge got to the point that they made Kamiya want to leave the company. So I don't know.
All right. Well, let's see if this is any better. Let me make sure it's at least set. Quality. Hopefully it'll be better now that I have the correct Wi-Fi. I'm only sharing it 720, 30 frames. I can lower that to 15 if I have to.
Oh, I didn't even know you had options. Do you have Nitro?
No.
Oh, all right.
But I remember when I did, when I tried to do like 1080 and 60 frames, it's like,
well, if you don't have Nitro, like you can't even go like above 720 or whatever. Like there's a harder cap.
Yeah, all I can do is lower it to 15 frames per second if I want.
Yeah. So this is the remaster of Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Which it looks like this might have been what they were working on first before 4, because the assets look identical.
I was just reading about all the supposed controversies of Team Ninja, and one of them was that Ninja Gaiden 2 was too violent.
And what do you expect from Ninja Gaiden, right? Like, you're literally a ninja killing everyone.
Yeah, and a a bikini volleyball game is too sexual. It's like,
God, I love Dead or Alive Extreme Beach Volleyball. I mean, the whole Dead or Alive Extreme is great, but specifically the beach volleyball.
Yeah.
Or, oh my God, what's the name of the game? There's a game that you can play. It's like a Japanese water sport game where girls stand on an inflatable. Somebody actually made a manga/anime based off it called Keijo, but I don't remember if that's the actual name of the game. And they have that in Dead or Alive Extreme. And you stand on this inflatable and you try to knock the other person off by bumping them with your butt. That's the whole game. And that's one of the ones that you can play. I love it.
I don't know if we should be talking about water sports on this show.
Oh, as long as it's water sports involving hot girls, it's perfectly fine. And if we're talking about Team
Yeah.
Ninja, it's unavoidable. So
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think when all of these first few 3D Ninja Gaidens came out, it was like the early 2000s, right?
yeah, it came out. I want to say most of them were probably PlayStation 2 era. Maybe one of them might have been the original PlayStation. I don't exactly remember, but it would have been early to mid. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna play this as a palette. But yeah, that was I missed a lot of games around that time.
Yeah, yeah. Pretty much everything before Final Fantasy 13.
Yeah. Well, I played Final Fantasy 13 too. Although I missed 12. Somehow I didn't.
That's what I was saying. I knew you played 13, so everything before Final Fantasy 13. There's like this gap.
Yeah, weirdly. I didn't play 10 either. 10 or 12.
Well, 10 I think came out in what? Was it 2002?
Yeah. Well, I know what. Actually, what am I saying?
Weren't you
I never got a
dad?
PlayStation 2. That was the problem. Not until 2005, but I just never got around to getting a PlayStation 2.
Okay. Which is weird because it's like that was everybody's first DVD player.
Oh. So I already had a. But yeah. See this now. Interestingly, this is more pixelated, like more retro than the fan remake.
Yeah, but I like that more.
They made it. Yeah.
Isn't like Way Forward the one working on this?
Oh, I hope so. I think so.
No, it's not. Okay.
It's not. Dotemu.
Well, they're doing a good job because they convinced me that this could have been a Way Forward game. So.
Yeah. You want? Hey, was there anything?
We have not had any real updates. There was a teaser trailer, but it was mostly cinematic. I think you could probably glean a few bits of gameplay out of it, but there was no like HUD at all either. So
yeah. So, but it just occurred to me we should watch this, and we are in the context of that this is going to be a Switch 2 game, I presume.
Yeah. It definitely is going to be Switch 2 at this point. There's no way they're going to pump it out in just the layover year at all. I don't think it's going to be in the year where things are coming out for both Switch and Switch 2. And even if it did, I don't think it would come out for both. I think they would just leave it at simply a Switch 2 game at this point.
Yeah, in retrospect, as I don't know, the quality of this looks like maybe too much for a Switch.
It's hard to tell, right? Especially when you look at a launch Switch title and how good Odyssey looks when you actually zoom in on it. Like Nintendo really knows how to use that system in a way that even their closest partners like the Pokemon Company couldn't use.
Yeah, really. Hey, maybe the Pokemon games will...
I doubt it.
Work better now. Just I was just going to say that not that they are going to get better, but that they can, rely on the stronger hardware.
Oh, hey, Fizchozo. Yeah, the thing is, and that's what I hate about the idea of the Switch 2, is like everybody just wants it because they want to be able to play all the games on it, right? And luckily, there's still a lot of games that are coming out for PlayStation 4 and Xbox One at this point. Oddly enough, there just are. So any of those games would definitely work on the Switch 2 without you even having to downgrade or port. But my problem is every time you just give some of these other developers a stronger system, they just push the system more because they rely on the system's power to overcome their shortcomings as a developer. And I just fear that's going to happen to a lot more non-Nintendo games on the system.
Yeah, possibly. I know it's the proliferation of very, very large hard drives certainly led to ridiculously uncompressed.
Oh, especially now that like
suboptimal.
I think it just hit its lowest price on like digital stores, like Amazon and stuff. But you can now easily just get like a 1 terabyte micro SD card that you could put into like your Steam Deck or Switch.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah, so I imagine
But, yeah,
maybe the
obviously-
Pokemon games might get a little better though, because Junichi Masuda, I think that, or is it Musada? I can never remember. The guy who was in charge of the Game Freaks for, I don't know, the last couple decades, has been moved to the Pokemon Company proper. So he's in charge from the top down there. So even if Game Freak does make a game, which they're the ones that make most of the Pokemon games, or at least all the main ones, him being at like the top of the licensor now might change some things.
Maybe.
Who knows, you know? Because he seems to care about the games way more than Game Freak does. I actually wouldn't even be surprised if Nintendo is working on a bid to buy out Game Freak's half of the Pokemon Company. That wouldn't shock me at all.
Mhm. But anyway, yeah. So the Metroid one wasn't anything new.
Yeah.
I saw the link to it, and I was like, I want to watch this now that I know that it's going to be on the next gen system.
Yeah. Well, I knew it was old because there hasn't been any updates on Metroid since the last big direct.
Yeah. But so, yeah, I mean, those Ninja Gaiden games look fine. I have nothing against 3D games in general. It's just a particular franchise. I just grew up having them be 2D side scroller.
Yeah, and everybody wanted to go 3D once 3D like hardware was more accessible. It's just like the direction people wanted to go. But I would kind of fully agree. I would have preferred, instead of like you putting the word black at the end, is signifying that they're not really spin-offs. It's like this is us rebooting the whole franchise in a way, because we're putting the number before the title and not the other way around. I would have preferred if it was just a spin-off series. Like if you had made it with a different ninja. It's like, this is not Ryu's story. The main Ninja Gaiden games were still going to be 2D. But that's a mentality that people didn't really start picking up until maybe the late aughts to the 10s. Right around the late 90s to the earlier aughts, they're just like, no, everything's 3D now, so we're just going to take franchises into this direction, whether we wanted to or not.
I guess so, but like, and you could say like, okay, so like 2D Zelda was basically saved by the Game Boy.
By handheld
Advance,
because they couldn't handle the 3D stuff, so they just kept making it for that. I mean, same with Mario, right? 2D Mario was saved by handheld because they weren't really doing 2D Mario anymore until the new Super Mario Brothers.
Oh yeah, and that was on
DS.
DS. Yeah.
There was a couple things where they were like remastering the old Mario games for Game Boy Advance or whatever, right? Like you have the Super Mario Brothers Advance, you have, and all that whole franchise. But those weren't new games; those were remakes of the old games with some new stuff in it. So the 2D Mario franchise was dead from Mario World until New Super Mario Brothers. That's a pretty big gap, right? That's between the near the beginning. Well, I guess Mario World 2, right? We'll count Yoshi's Island because it is called Mario World 2. So halfway through the SNES to about a third into the DS's life cycle when they make the new Super Mario Brothers, because they were just going to go completely 3D with Mario from then on out. So there's a mentality that was widespread across the entirety of the video game industry. Nintendo was even susceptible to it.
Yeah, and if you think about it, 2D Castlevania was saved by the fact that the couple of 3D Castlevania games that did come out were god-awful.
Oh, yeah. It's completely.
Ridiculously bad. I mean, even, like, I never even realized there was a second one, maybe, I guess, a sequel after Castlevania 64.
Oh, dude, Castlevania
was
64 is
apparently
like the
better.
worst, like Castlevania
Oh, yeah.
game ever. Even all my gripes about Lords of Shadow and the sequel to that, I'm like, yeah, but at least it's still not Castlevania 64.
Yeah, and it had a sequel, or it had a follow-up game also on the Nintendo 64 that apparently was better, but still shitty, like just awful.
Yeah.
And then it was just like, I'm guessing almost Konami. Konami just decided to go with PlayStation and said, presumably, well,
Yeah.
it's not quite strong enough to do a 3D game, plus our 3D games on the Nintendo 64 suck completely.
Yeah.
And Symphony of the Night was such an amazing hit. I imagine the sales were through the roof. They were just like, now we're sticking with this. This works.
Well, it also helped that Rondo of Blood did really well before that. Right? And then Symphony just did even better. And it's like, yeah, this is the direction that Igarashi wants to take the games. And then they tried to do 3D again later on the Xbox 360. Those games sold well enough, but I think there was equally as big of a backlash to them as well as the sales did. And then Castlevania pretty much more or less died after that. I think there was around the same time the very last DS Castlevania game was coming out.
Yeah, but I mean, that was another. I mean, I think
Yeah.
it's yet another series. The more I think about it, it was totally
Saved by Handheld.
saved as a 2D franchise.
Yeah, because I think Portrait
because
of
of
Ruin
mobile.
came out around that time, and then there was one last one that came out around the time the second Lord of Shadows came out, but I can never remember the name of that one.
That was the ninth
Yeah,
mobile 2D Castlevania. That
yeah,
was
because there
that
was
was
Game
the
Boy
era
Advance
where
ones too.
yeah, where it was just like, Symphony of the Night did so well.
Yeah.
Let's make 9 more all on mobile. 9 more Symphonies of the Night.
Well, at least with the 3 on the DS, I can't blame anybody for wanting to transfer to the DS, just because of how well the DS sold. Like everybody had one, you know.
Maybe there were 6 more.
Yeah.
But there were. Okay, they're confusing myself. There were 3 on the Game Boy Advance, 3 on the DS.
Yes.
Okay, I guess that was it. Sorry, 6
Yeah.
more. Still, that's a lot.
That is a lot. It's like everybody
yeah.
owned a DS, so that it's like if you're gonna take your franchise there, that wasn't a bad place at the time to take your franchise. You knew people owned the system. You knew people were gonna be able to buy it. Could you make a Castlevania in the style of Metroid Prime? Absolutely. You just need the right people working on it. I think Metroid Prime did a really good job of translating the feeling of a Metroidvania game, especially Metroid, which is a game that's supposed to have this like dark isolation feeling to it. It's like the entire background to the original Metroid is black because you're underground and you're just Samus alone and you feel isolated. It had a really good job of capturing that in those games, but also having the backtracking and going through different areas and having fun rooms, fun chambers that were like combat arenas or puzzle rooms and stuff. If you took that mentality, yeah, you could totally do a Castlevania game in 3D space. There would be certain challenges, but the fact that what's it called? Samus's grapple works well in 3D space. You can make the whip work well in 3D space too. It just takes the right development team.
Yeah. The last one was Order of Ecclesia. We always forget that one.
Yeah, that's a weird name. You know?
Yeah, I never played it.
That's probably also another reason why I never remember too, because I never played it. But I just have to remember it's like Ecclesiastes, the New Testament book, right? So it's just Order of Ecclesia. I'm going to forget it again.
Yeah. Yeah, I always I remember that word, but I can never remember order of for some reason.
Oh, he also asked, could you make a Castlevania in the style of an Arkham Asylum game? You could. I think in general you'd want it to be a little bit more fast-paced. Not that Arkham is necessarily slow, but you have to take it methodically. because of the situations, right? Batman will go up to the rafters where it's safe and people can't see him, and then you're looking back down and you actually have time to plan what you're doing. A Castlevania game needs to be fast-paced, right? That's like the whole point. But you could probably do it. And you could even have some of those more slow and methodical rooms if you wanted to make it a game. Like maybe there's multiple modes. Like how after in Dawn of Sorrow, there's the Julius Belmont mode. If you just made a side mode where somebody else was going through the castle that was not as strong as the Belmont or Alucard or whoever you're playing as, and they have to be more stealth, you could totally do that. But I do think Metroid Prime fits it better than, say, like an Arkham Asylum game.
Yeah. So, that it's the Ninja Gaiden 2 Black remake.
Yeah.
Is on Steam.
Yeah, I know it's on Steam. I assume it's on both PlayStation and Xbox as well. I would not imagine it would be available on Switch, but I could be surprised. It might be available on Switch too by the time it comes out. So.
Yeah. Yep. Why? So did they not remake the first? Why did they remake the second?
I don't know. I think 2 was just more popular. Like, why isn't 3 either? Like, why'd they choose 2 out of the 3 of them that they could have remade? When, like, 4's coming out, you'd think 3 would be the one you want to remake because it was the last one right before this one. Have a refresher of where things ended.
Yeah, who knows? And then there was like a Ninja Gaiden Sigma. What was that?
I don't know. I've never played that one.
Weird.
Sounds like something like a Zoomer would say. They'd be like, "What the Sigma?"
I think of like Gaiden Six Sigma.
Yeah.
He's doing like Sarbanes-Oxley audits or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Ninja Gaiden
I don't even know
Ligma.
what Six Sigma is. It's that's completely. But weren't we like weren't you surprised about that one of the Castlevanias that you thought was 3D was actually sort of like 2.5D?
I don't recall. Maybe?
Because I played, I guess it's Lords of Shadow?
Oh, well, Lord of Shadow is mostly 3D because it's like a God of War game.
Yeah, it wasn't that one. Maybe it was Mirror of Fate.
That might be it. I don't know. I don't remember if I even played Mirror of Fate. So.
Yeah. Thought I had it on Steam, but
I think that isn't Mirror of Fate the sequel? Isn't it like Lord of Shadow 2?
Yeah, but I think they went back to a 2D play style. It's got like 3D assets and
that would make sense because I would have just been like, well, I played the first one and it was 3D and awful, so why would I play the sequel? It's also going to be 3D and awful.
Yeah.
This Joseph says 2.5D is just 3D but side scrolling. It's not always side scrolling, but it is basically just always a variant of 2D, but in 3D, right?
Yeah.
Like sometimes isometric is technically also 2.5D if you use 3D models.
Yeah. Yeah, as I recall, unless I'm wrong, I could be completely wrong about this, but I know I played a Castlevania game that was like this. I think it was Mirror of Fate, where it was the camera would turn. Sometimes it would like certain cinematic sort of areas, it would go behind the character, but for the most part, 3D assets in a 2D side scroller. And yeah, you move in and out of in certain areas, but yeah, for the most
I think the only true 2.5D game was Super Paper Mario.
Okay.
Right, because it was 2D and then you'd flip it and it would be 3D and yeah.
That is one game that I don't know how to play again. I guess I could on the Wii U.
Yeah, you could. If you have a disc and the
had
Wii
a
U
working
plays
Joy-Con.
Wii games.
or yeah, a Wiimote.
Mhm.
So you needed a Wiimote.
Yep.
Just the way you had to like point at the screen and stuff. But yeah, that's a game that's I really liked, but it's very difficult to figure out how you can play it. You have to have very specialized hardware.
Or I could just also have my brother just ship my Wii. I still have a functioning Wii.
Yeah. Well, I have a functioning Wii U. I just don't have the game.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I have a functioning Wiimote. Anyway.
Like, I've got the Wii, I've got Wiimotes, I probably have a copy of Super Paper Mario still. Just not with me. I don't know if
what
we have a
else did
sensor
they-
bar. I think we did buy a sensor bar to replace it eventually, because we were tired of setting up candles every single time we were trying to get the Wii working.
Candles. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the only way to do it. Is you had to set up like 2 candles, or you didn't even need 2. It was just it was better if it was 2 because it was balanced. You could just have 1 in the center. I remember we were trying to get the Wii running just enough to play the GameCube back at our apartment in Arlington, and we did not have a sensor bar. Eventually, they just gave up and bought a new a secondhand GameCube that wasn't our old one because the lid was broken; it wouldn't shut anymore. And I'm like, I could fix it if I just get a spring. It's like, no, we'd rather just buy a new GameCube. But we were trying to play Smash Brothers on the Wii using the GameCube. We didn't have any candles, so our buddy David is just like standing there behind the TV with a lighter and just holding the lighter up while we're trying to get it to work.
Oh my god.
I think he almost burnt himself once too.
That's the problem with the more gimmicky
Yeah.
Nintendo systems. They're so hard to deal with if you don't
The funny
have
thing
the
is,
original hardware.
the sensor bar, more than anything, was actually just an infrared reflector, right? So it was the similar to like how the flash gun worked. It was everything you needed to tell where you were on the screen was inside the Wiimote. So it never actually had to be plugged into the Wii, except for the fact that it was powering the sensor bar that way. Our replacement sensor bar was entirely battery operated and could be placed anywhere and never had to be plugged into the Wii at all.
Yeah, it's ironic that the sensor bar didn't do any sense.
Nope. The actual sensing was the Wiimote trying to sense the bar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I figure there's something we probably don't have a whole lot to say about. I figured I'd show off, and this, I don't think this was in the I don't think this was in the Xbox whatever showcase thing, but it was announced, or well, I guess it was announced a year ago. But there was a release announcement for Crashlands 2. And I guess it's an obscure game, but it's one of my favorite.
Yeah, we can look at it. Fishoso says, all Nintendo systems have been gimmicky since the Wii. If you want to put with the exception of the GameCube, you could even say since the 64, because that gimmick was, hey, everything's 3D now instead of these 2D pixel games. The GameCube was just improving on the 64, though there were a lot of gimmicks with both of those systems too, with like all the peripherals and stuff you could put in. I wouldn't jot that up to the system. The SNES and NES also had a lot of peripheral gimmicks that you could plug into it as well. I mean, we're not going to forget about the Power Glove, the Light Gun, or Rob, are we? But yeah, 64 had the 3D gimmick. That was like a big deal for it. Then GameCube was not gimmicky. And then everything since then, even technically all of its handhelds, except maybe Game Boy Advance, were gimmicky. Because being a handheld game system is a gimmick in itself, so we have to count the Game Boy. But then after Game Boy Advance, you have like the DS was a gimmick with the touchscreen and the 2 screens. The 3DS is a gimmick. Nintendo's just always been about the gimmicks.
Yeah.
Where I completely wasn't paying attention. I just need to put the. There we go.
Oh, okay. It's like showing a duplicate, like a. So this is Crashlands 2, and it's I guess it's kind of like Minecraft in that it's like a survival, crafting, home building game with a story. And a lot of action, a lot of yeah, a lot of fighting creatures with different
Yeah.
I don't know what you call it, patterns. But it's a funny story. At least the original had a lot of humor, and you have this little juice box guy that follows you around. That's funny. The same guy from the original seems to be in this one. And yeah, there's a lot of quirky enemies and a lot of oddball. Like you're on this planet that has this really strange, unrecognizable what do you call it? Materials for crafting. And these really
so it's like identification, like a big part of it. Like you have to identify the materials, or
not really.
Oh.
Kind of immediately.
You just know what it is after you pick it up.
Know what they are, but you kind of have to. You kind of have to learn the materials because, like, there'll be like a genre, or like like there'll be wood, right, and there'll be all these weird things that are vaguely wood-like that you have to get for certain new crafting station to make new weapons and armor, and then you kind of graduate to the next genre of materials and adamantite, but and then you'd have to learn a whole new family of materials.
Yeah. Hey,
sort of figure it
realistically, as long as we can make a press, especially a hydraulic press, but we could do it manual if we need to. As long as we could just make a pressure crusher, we can make wood out of anything that vaguely resembles cellulose anywhere in the system that we find, like anywhere in the universe. So that's not a problem, But just crush it down into pulp.
Yeah. True. But it's funny because it has like a very doesn't Diablo kind of do this kind of thing where they have these circles? A lot of games do these circles where you can see where you're going to get hit. So you have
they just call them target circles or indicators.
Yeah, you have to dance around the sort of indicators where you're
Yeah, it was reminding me a lot of Bastion. If you ever played that by is it Double Fine? The same people who make Hades made Bastion, which is like the original game that they did before Hades. I can't remember who it was, but whoever makes that, they made Bastion. Bastion's great. It gives me Bastion vibes.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I guess I think it's by a company called Butterscotch Shenanigans, and I played a ton of Crashlands 1 back in the day. I feel like it was like 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
More. And it was mostly mobile. That was my one complaint with the first one, is that it was really developed for mobile. So it had things like, it didn't really have inventory management.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you'd collect these materials, but you couldn't really see what you had. You didn't have like a viewing your pack kind of a thing, because it was just like, it would whittle down how much more you needed to build the next thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? A bit obnoxious. And like, you couldn't, there wasn't a super easy way to like equip something or unequip one thing and equip another. It was more just like, oh, you've got sword 5 and you could upgrade it to sword 6, and then it just automatically have sword 6. And it's just like, just felt very mobile game. Some simplistic stuff that just made it obnoxious, because I'm like, wait, I want to see how many of something. have? Why is that different? And all it would do would be like, you need 2 more. Yeah, but how many do I have?
You have 2 shy from what you need.
Yes, exactly. So I hope this one is more, PC centric, I guess. I imagine it's going to be like, I think it's coming out on Switch, so I think it'll be more normal rather than like designed for mobile like iOS and Android.
Maybe.
We'll see. April 10th. That was the announcement trailer. But I think the other... Yeah.
The different type
other
of
one.
game, but it also was giving me Toe Jam and Earl vibes.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. You ever play Toe Jam and Earl?
I never did.
Yeah, old school Sega game, really fun. It's one of those classic just isometric adventure games, and it's somewhat procedurally generated every time you go into it. So it kind of gives you that like roguelike vibe before roguelikes were really a thing. And you crash land onto a planet, and you have to get the parts to repair your ship or whatever. And you're going basically down floors almost like here's a floor that has been generated. You get items, you're trying to avoid the monsters and blah, blah, blah. You found the elevator going down to the next land, and it's just a bunch of lands.
Yeah.
And I believe only the first and most recent Toe Jam and Earl game plays that way, which is Back in the Groove. They did that on purpose to be like the original, because Toe Jam and Earl's a franchise where every single game, they basically made it a different type of game. I think one of them's like a side-scroller platformer after the first one.
I'll have to look into
Yeah.
Yeah, this one's more of a outward. You're not going down.
Yeah, no. I know it's a different type of game. It's closer to like...
yeah, but it's similar in that as you get farther away from your original base camp, there's completely different areas with stronger creatures and better materials.
Yeah, no, it was... gameplay-wise, I would think it's probably closer to like a Don't Starve type game or whatever.
A little bit, yeah. We were talking about that. That is basically a survival game with some crafting, but you don't have to worry about like eating. You just have to worry about your health. Don't die, don't get killed by
But even the first time I played Don't Starve also gave me a Toe Jam and Earl vibe, right? Because Toe Jam and Earl, while not specifically that type of game, is kind of like the grandpappy of all of those games.
Well, I haven't seen this. Imagine it's exciting.
Oh,
for
Doom the Dark
fans.
Ages. Yeah, so we've got a new Doom game. And so it's going to be the follow-up to Doom Eternal, which was the last Doom game that was made. It
was very... it seemed like it was very critically acclaimed.
Yes, though... I don't know. It's almost like a split on whether people thought it was a good follow-up to 2016 or not. Like, there's some people who think it's better than Doom 2016. Some people think it was a downgrade. But overall, I think people still liked it, whether they thought it was an upgrade or downgrade.
Yeah. People really liked 2016's Doom? I didn't hear really as much about that one.
Oh, no, that game was critically acclaimed, for sure, when it came out.
Oh.
Yeah. And like I said, this is going to be interesting because I didn't look at who is directing this game and whether it is going to be the same guy that took over in the end of the development of Eternal. But the guy who made 2016 Doom and did most of the directing of Eternal passed away near the end of Eternal. And another crew member had to basically take over and for that and the DLC that came out, the expansion for Eternal. So I don't know if that might be the same guy doing it. There was some criticism and how the ending was handled, of not the ending of the game, but the ending of development and even the expansion was handled, is why some people feel like it was a downgrade to 2016. might depend on how this game goes. They
Yeah.
may have even learned their lessons from the end of Eternal, so it could be even better than both games. We don't know.
Yeah. So this is interesting that apparently there's a Gundam in this.
Yeah, it looks like
Where
there's a
the-
big mech for him to pilot.
Yeah. Doom guy. It says in-game footage. Apparently you get to fight this gigantic thing.
Yeah.
I kind of wonder why in Doom there aren't gigantic demons.
There are,
Oh,
though,
there are.
in the previous ones, too.
Oh, there are.
Yeah. At least in 2016 in Eternal, there were demons that were that big. Though in that game, you didn't need a mech. I mean, Doom Guy was able to just, like, stop the sword of one of them because he scales so stupidly high now. But whether you need a mech or not, maybe it's just for fun, right? Like, because Doom Guy is a guy who's always looking for other new ways of fighting demons. You might just want to use a giant mech to kill demons.
Yeah, why not? Apparently there was a developer. They called it a developer direct. It's like, wait a minute, you're stealing from
Yeah.
Nintendo.
Yeah,
a
Doom Guy is
bit more
ridiculously OP.
footage.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, he is in the first movie too, briefly.
Yeah. Oh, he's not even close to how he is in the games at all.
Yeah.
In that movie, because like, dude has literally killed gods, or things that are on the scale of gods, especially in the new series.
Yeah. Now it's like he has like a, what is that? What's the thing in Krull that he throws? The glaive or whatever.
Yeah. That
You're
does
like,
kind
oh,
of look
there's
like a
two
glaive.
demons fighting each other. Or the thing from Rygar. He has the whatever that is. Spinning blade dish thing.
Yeah, like a. It's kind of like a glaive. It's kind of like a chakram. Kind of like weird. It's just kind of like it's just its own thing. It's a shield that's
engine.
also a chainsaw.
Yeah. Apparently. Start up the engine and
Throw it out, becomes a Beyblade. Who cares? It's everything.
yeah. Love these fat guys. Look at that. Oh, it's like
Yeah.
sawing right through him. Gross. Well, if you're into Doom, I guess. I don't know. It looks
I
promising.
like Doom. Hey, everything's better than Doom 3, so.
That is true. Good. Go back to Doom 1 and 2. Those were perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, this
Because
looks good.
that's even reminded me of Borderlands, the pre-sequel. You could play as Athena. And this is basically how she plays. She's got a shield that can block incoming attacks. It ramps up. You could throw the shield. It'll bounce between things or whatever. And you've got like a dash lunge where you just like jump to the target real quick. Like this is just Athena from Borderlands gameplay right here.
Yeah.
Just in slightly more of like a boomer shooter environment. Because it's not
Interesting.
totally boomer shooter. 2016 and Eternal weren't completely in that direction, but they are definitely embracing that gameplay type, kind of scaling back to Quake a little bit more than modern games have been. So that's one of the reasons people appreciate it.
Yeah. That's cool. Well, I'll turn this off. Let's look at our lovely faces again.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of new announcements.
Yep, it's going to have multiplayer again, I think. That's what it's saying,
Mm-hmm.
which is a little controversial. A lot of people thought the multiplayer in the first Doom, 2016, was awful compared to the game itself. I haven't heard anyone talk about the multiplayer of Eternal, like, at all. I don't even know if it has it. I would assume it does, but maybe the first one was just so bad that nobody bothered to play it in Eternal. Who knows? It could have been better for all I know. So hopefully they fix that in this one. I think definitely when you go to multiplayer for Doom, especially because these ones are more vertical than Doom was, you kind of have to lean into that Quake arena and environment. And I don't know if they're going to be doing that more. Can't be as bad as Quake Champions was, though, so you at least have a low bar. Why does Doom need multiplayer? I don't think it does, but it's a shooter game, so people kind of expect multiplayer from it.
Yeah. Interestingly, this is weird.
And it looks like it will launch on May 15th. So that's not even that far from now.
So Game Rant now, you can't read anything without an account?
I guess. I mean...
Wait. Okay. So, weird. I was able to close it, finally.
I was to say,
that covers up.
if that was the case, nothing of value was lost.
Yeah. This is interesting.
Oh, nope, here we go. I actually have it. The Dark Ages is strictly a single-player game. There is no multiplayer. Yeah, I would just assume just because of all the complaints and how bad the multiplayer was in the first Doom, there's really no point in putting multiplayer in the Doom games.
Yeah. Did you see somewhere that it had multiplayer?
Oh, no, I read earlier that this article was going to talk about whether it had multiplayer or not. I hadn't gotten to that point, so... as I scroll down, it says it is strictly a single-player game. Just all it needs to be. If we want multiplayer from an id game, just play Quake. Quake's always been their bread and butter for multiplayer. You know, they did some remasters of Quake 1 and 2 recently, and the multiplayer is great in it. You know, so just go back and play Quake.
Yeah, well, Quake was kind of made for multiplayer.
Yeah,
I thought.
But even the main campaign, you can play the main campaign multiplayer if you want. I love playing Quake, so it's a great game. We don't need to mix our Quake and our Doom together. They can be completely different games.
Yeah. Is this new news that Nintendo says they're not going to be using AI? Oh no. Why do they present the really old articles?
The downside, though, what I see is the PC specs, because obviously that's the only specs you ever care about. If it's on a console, then you know it can use the console itself. The PC specs came out, and it is going to require you to have a GPU that is capable of ray tracing to play the game. Yeah. Which we're going to start seeing that's going to just be a standard for high-end games coming out, that if you don't have a GPU capable of ray tracing, you can't even play the game. Yeah, unless you play like a version where somebody fixed the game by modding that out. I don't know.
Yeah. I always wonder, though, like, yeah, a game can play... It could presumably play on whatever consoles it comes out with, but they still have these switches, like settings, where you can increase or decrease the quality.
Yeah.
Why would they have that on a console? They know what the console can do.
Part of it is leaving it up to user choice, right? Like, hey, if you are fine with it stuttering, gameplay wise, just so the world looks better, here's the option. If you're fine with the world working less just for seamless gameplay, here's the option. But I think that more comes from the fact that for a couple generations now, we've had them releasing better versions of consoles, right? So it's like, hey, we have to make it work for the base PS5, but we're putting the options in so that when the PS5 Pro comes out, which they knew when was coming out before it was long before it was announced, like there was just a default at this point, it will be able to run at even higher one if you ever get a PS5 Pro. I think that's the mentality that they have, instead of locking the game, or instead of actually making games that are optimized for individual hardware.
Yeah, that's dumb. It should look at the hardware and say, oh, you're on the newer PS5 Pro. Okay, we'll up the graphics, but otherwise, tune it to how you want it to play.
Hey, you know what? I play Genshin on PS5. There's a PS5 version of Genshin. You cannot adjust almost any of the settings. I think they let you turn off NPC shadows or whatever, but I don't think any of their settings are for performance. I think it's for playability. Like, hey, if you turn some of this stuff off, it might be easier to make things out in the world. But not every game has performance-based settings in it, and that might be the best case when you're not on PC or phone too, right? For Android case, you might have any number of specs on an Android phone, so equally you should be able to change settings on there.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, because I remember there used to be a time when, the PC version would have all kinds of dials, dial things up and down just to match whatever you need to. But on a console, it was like, it is what it is, because they know what the console is. Tune the game properly. Don't ask me these questions.
Yeah. Well, it was definitely a lot rarer. I think I actually remember seeing stuff like that as early as the N64 once we start getting into the 3D area. But I would even chalk that up to maybe these developers are just new to 3D, so they don't know what is and isn't going to run on the system very well, right? But even then, I probably only remembered on maybe 1 or 2 games back then. Same with like the GameCube.
Mm-hmm. Did you see this South of Midnight game?
Oh, I saw... Who was it? I saw somebody on Twitter talking about it. I thought it was a game that was previously canceled, but apparently it was resurrected. And it looks to be like one of those SBI games.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
What's funny is, like, you know it's bad when the trailer includes a lot of shots of the developers or designer.
Oh, yeah.
And because, like, clearly they're focusing on those people, like, the people that made it or designed it, like, without focusing on the game itself. And then the fact that the main character is, like, a self-insert for, like, the 3 main designers that they keep showing. It's like, okay, she looks a little bit like all 3 of them. That's not good. We don't want a game about a designer and their hang-ups.
Yeah, and I saw like I think maybe it was like auto playing in Twitter where the person like shared a video, right? So I saw a little bit of the game, and what I saw had plenty of monsters, had the main character. The only thing that looked remotely cool was the giant like catfish thing that was sitting there. That's it. It's like the one remotely cool shot of a thing in there. Most of the monsters looked generic, bland, like they had no flavor to them at all. And like I look at the main character, it's like there's nothing gripping about them. Like they probably aren't cool, honestly, looking at the type of people working on the game, but
every shot of like somebody in a room that with developers behind them, as far as I can tell, every single developer behind him is a woman. Which,
statistically speaking, that just doesn't seem
like
like
of female developers.
Yeah.
It's a bit odd. I don't know. I just
I was saying, like, statistically speaking, that doesn't seem like it's going to be a good game.
Or they're not developers. Those are all like the writers, and it's like and sort of designers in them. If they've got that many writers, just that alone, I don't care if they're men or women, writing by committee.
You don't need that many writers. I think the only time you need that many writers is when you don't actually have dedicated writers, and everybody in the development staff is trying to write something good collectively, right? Because they're not writers themselves.
Yeah.
But like if you even have a single dedicated writer, at most maybe 3, writing different aspects of the game, right? Like you have somebody who's working on main plot points, maybe somebody who's working on characterization, and maybe a dialogue writer. Yeah. That's like the only 3 roles I could see you splitting things up into.
Yeah.
Maybe a fourth one. I don't know.
What's funny is
Final Fantasy 7 had 4 writers. I don't. And if 7 had 4 writers, I don't know why you need more than that.
yeah,
You know.
yeah. And this I was curious just because I didn't know they still existed. I was looking up Butterscotch Shenanigans.
Yeah.
The makers of Crashlands and several other good-looking games. And I mean, granted, it's a very small indie studio, but they have exactly one writer. They have a narrative design and game work. And
Yeah, I think it depends on the
one
scale of
person
your
who's-
game, but like one person could totally
Yeah.
just do all the writing for most games.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, they've also only got one programmer, apparently. But regardless,
Though if you were trying to have
The
a single
bloat
writer on
is
an Elder
ridiculous.
Scrolls game, well, even the ones that were made well might take as long as Elder Scrolls 6 is taking to
Yeah.
come out. Just because of how many
Well-
individual lines of dialogue and trees and stuff are in that.
Yeah, but you've got like one main narrative.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
Lead,
you
right?
assign people to jobs, right? Like, so you can have a different dialogue writer
Yeah.
or whatever. It depends on what the scale of the game
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a humongous game. You could have 20 different writers. You'd have like a very small team of overall, lead writers or narrative just people. And then, yeah, all the stupid dialogue and like, text and all the books and all that kind of. You might want to have a large group of people for that.
Yeah, most of the quests in Morrowind were designed by a single person, but even he had to work with the main like plot writer and stuff. Right? There were several writers in Morrowind.
Yeah. But like Elden
Yeah.
Ring, the main plot done by
Yeah.
George R.R. Martin. No. Anyway, that looks like a flop. Flop in the making.
Yeah. Total flop. I wanted you to say flop in the making. Right? It's a flop that's been made, right? 'Cause apparently, it wasn't going to be published from what I saw originally. Like, it was one of those ones that kind of like sunk into development hell and was brought back out.
Huh. So why did they well, I guess we don't know.
Yeah, I don't know that much about it.
Why
I
they
just
brought
saw
it
that like it was one that was originally canceled, but it was like near completion already, so it was like rescued.
Well,
Yeah, so
it's probably just going to end up costing them more.
they're going to be
making
selling
money.
day-old bread for premium price.
Yeah. Did you see the Claire Obscure Expedition 33?
No, I did not.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
Well, I don't know if it's there. It looks cool, but I'll let you. If there's other stories, do you have?
I don't know what that is though. Like I'm not that you mentioned something and I'm curious. Like,
Oh, now you want to know?
like it's got a very
Oh.
weird name, you know. Like,
Yeah, Claire Obscure Expedition 30. Yeah. Looks neat. It looks like some
yeah. Let me-
pirate stuff, pirate shenanigans.
Okay. I heard something
Cute
about a
characters.
pirate game that almost didn't happen, but I don't know if this is the same thing. Because I
Oh,
don't know the
maybe.
name of the game that I was hearing about either, so it could be something completely different.
Yeah. Probably this. I mean,
Yeah.
apparently you're on a ship. Piracy happens. Apparently you're heading for a big rock that has the number 33 on it.
Yeah.
Whip action. And... Interesting.
Well, I see an action order, so this is a turn-based RPG.
Looks like it. Very, but there's some
Yeah,
twitchiness
there's
to it. I saw
There's
parry
like
dodge.
quick time events looking.
Yeah.
Could be fun. It'd be like a similar to the Mario RPGs or whatever, but with a fuller party. Because one of the things about most of the Mario RPGs is they're down to like 2 characters in a party, right? I would love to play more active RPGs that actually have larger parties to them. And this one looks like there's 4 people in it.
Oh. Microphone fell into my face. Yeah, that's kind of cool. A little bit different. Kind of like, I don't know, reminds me of Baldur's Gate 2 or something. Looks like some tragedy happens. Oh, I see it. So there's like a turn counter on the left.
Yeah. See the action orders. What I mentioned before. It's that list of when characters are going to go. It's like an initiative order. Final Fantasy X had it. But who else has it? Final Fantasy X had it. The Octopath Traveler has that order. They just put it at the top. Star Rail uses an action order system too. Usually when you have an action order system like that, it means that there are certain things you can do to manipulate the action order. So that's always a fun way of gaming battle. And it's called Clair Obscure Expedition 33. I will look more into it, because if it is actually good, and I do like pirate shenanigans, I like RPGs, I just want to rub into Square's face that you can totally make turn-based RPGs or things that are akin to them in these high-def styles, and they can be good, because apparently that's the reason why they're not making turn-based RPGs, because they wouldn't be good in these high-def styles.
Ooh, Fitzjoseph might like this. It says it's has an extensive skill tree and unique character mechanics.
Well, I wasn't interested for like the first maybe 5 to 10 seconds of the trailer, because at first it was just looking like generic open world RPG, and then it went into an actual battle. I'm like, oh, you've piqued my interest.
Yeah. Well, it looks like a lot of things are being released in April,
Yeah.
including Fantasy Life High.
You can only hope.
Yeah, hope so.
April comes, like, sorry, we've had to delay it to September.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. We've got a really fun announcement talking about Square that kind of tickles me pink. Final Fantasy VII Part 3, a game that I don't care about, but this is setting the direction of things, will not be a PS6 exclusive. And it's been in the work for about 9 months already, right? So that's big news, since Sony was actually one of the funders of the Final Fantasy VII Remake series, in the same way that they were the funders of the original Final Fantasy VII, and why it was, weirdly enough, not technically a PlayStation exclusive. It was out for PC around the same time, but it wasn't able to be on any of the people Sony saw as a direct competitor at that time. And this one, though, following suit, isn't going to be. And Square announced a while ago that they were pretty much going to no longer make PlayStation exclusives, because it's not doing well for them at all. In fact, they don't really want to make console exclusives if they can help it. They would rather them just be available on as many systems as possible. Which is funny, because after saying that, then they were talking about possibly making something that would be a Switch exclusive, meaning that they're still open to exclusives if the right person asks them. Meaning Nintendo, who never will let a game fail, even if their system does. But yeah, Part 3, we thought might still be a PlayStation exclusive, just because it's been part of this series that has been, at the very least, a timed exclusive to PlayStation, where maybe 6 months to a year later it would come out.
Do we really think it's going to come out for the PS6 at all? Is it? I didn't think have they even announced a PS6? I don't think that was anytime.
We
anytime
are
soon.
expecting that the PS6 will be announced within this next year for possibly 2027. Because they do typically announce it like 2 years. Yeah, well, they usually announce it like 2 years before it happens, and they're expecting 2027 is probably when the PS6 is going to happen. So maybe near the end of the year or whatever, they might announce that in 2 years that the PS6 will be available.
In 2 years.
That's usually when they make the announcement. The PS5 was announced 2 years before it came out.
And I guess it's going to take Square Enix 3 or 4 years to make this?
Maybe. It may also... right now, this doesn't mean it may not be on PlayStation. Again, because we expected this to still be a PlayStation exclusive. But it might mean that it'll simply be available on both PS5 and PS6 at the same time when the PS6 is announced. We don't know. But yeah, that's the timeline they're looking at, is that it'll probably be out when the PS6 will be out. Which also... people are hoping for 2027. That's the frame. That may not be till 2028 either, right? Like, this is all speculation at this point, but that's how long it's going to take for part 3 to come out. But that doesn't mean that's the next part, right? People are expecting that there's going to be something akin to interlude in between parts 2 or intergrade as an interlude in between parts 2 and 3. So there probably will be another expansion or something before that happens.
Yeah. Yeah, that seems to be... there's several more articles on that player here. I think people are gradually starting to see that, and looks pretty cool to me, especially for a new franchise, potentially.
Oh, yeah.
It does, even though it was on the Xbox showcase, it looks like it's coming out for PS5 and PC as well.
Which is great. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm more interested. Once I finally saw the gameplay of the battle, I suddenly became interested. It also looks like it's willing to be goofy. Like we saw that big kind of like, I don't know, wooden bramble guy was floating in the air as a means of travel or whatever. Kind of reminded me of like Flammy flying around in like the Mana series or whatever. I like goofy things. I like games that don't take themselves too seriously. So yeah, I'll give it a chance.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see what it looks like.
Yeah. And we are coming to the end of the show, so let's pick something to wrap up with.
Well,
oh, did you have something?
Just a few rumors about the Switch 2 possible games that might be coming to it, but I mean, it's all speculation. Anyway. Oh, so I've got a couple different things to look at. I'm just going to pick one at random, or technically I've already picked. I already clicked on it. Lego and Netflix are teaming up together to create one-piece Lego sets, which I think that's kind of cool. Cool. There's not a lot of like anime building sets in general, at least that I'm aware of. There might be, Lego might have a lot of them in Japan that just never come here for all I know, and I'm just not aware of it. But this is going to be international because they're partnering up with Netflix to do it, and I would love to see more sets like this. Obviously, it's because of the live action show, and it's going to be based on those depictions, but their costumes are pretty close in design, that if you were to slap their costumes onto a minifig, you would not really be able to tell the difference between the live action version or the anime version, because minifigs all have the exact same body type. Yeah, true. Yeah, apparently, at least from everything I'm seeing, the only anime building sets are like brick, and they're knockoffs. I don't see any.
Oh, well, I mean, that was like that for a lot of those Japanese properties, especially when they're bigger. Nintendo didn't start working with Lego until very recently themselves. They went with like the offshoots, like Kanex and Mega Bloks.
Exoforce.
Yeah, I'm sure that's another one. I haven't heard of it, but that sounds exactly like another one. I believe you. There's so many things that they're like Lego, but they aren't Lego out there.
I have to log.
Let's see. Fishoso asks, is there any cheaper alternatives to Lego? Well, if you're looking for price point, Mega Bloks is a lot cheaper than Lego itself. The problem with any of the cheaper alternatives in the past, it may start year by year being less the case as they build a better infrastructure, was Lego building techniques for actually creating the blocks down to like the micrometer were patented, and people didn't actually know what they were doing. So everybody was basically guessing, making their own formulations, and a lot of their competitors like Mega Bloks were always a little loose, right? Like you put them together, but they don't really hold as well as Lego do, right? Like you think your castle's good, you try picking it up, and a tower just comes off, right? I think it was like a few years ago, the patent on that finally hit the course where they couldn't renew the copyright or something. I don't remember exactly how it worked, but it opened up. Now everybody can make things as precise to the micrometer as Lego could. I just haven't bought any of these competitors in a while to know if they've hit that mark yet. But Mega Bloks has always been cheaper than Lego if you're just looking for price point.
Yeah, I've gotten other brands that you can find, and they never fit together like as well.
Yeah, they're just never to the quality
like,
Lego is.
Yeah, they'd always be too tight usually, like less than too loose. Although, apparently there are 2 sets for Avatar: The Last Airbender. The Air Temple and the Fire Nation ship.
Oh, that's cool.
But that might be all. It's the only ones I can find.
But yeah, so that was the last random topic I wanted to talk about. I'm not like a really big fan of One Piece, but I just love when I see opportunities like this open up. And I know a lot of people who like One Piece, so they'd be excited to pick up a set. I might forward that over to my brother, who's kind of a big fan of it. But I'd like to see some other things, even if it's like stuff that Netflix had adapted. Hey, it'd be really cool if we got like a Ranma minifigs, because they're like, hey, look at this popular show that we are helping publish to the rest of the world.
Apparently there is a Speed Racer Lego.
Oh, and Mach Go Go Go.
I guess.
That's the Japanese name.
Yeah. Oh, and then the only other one that I see so far is One Piece.
Yeah.
But they don't have pictures of it.
I love the name Mach Go Go Go. I think it's way better than Speed Racer. Just because like the puns of the title, right? Because Go means 5, so it's the Mach 5, and then Go is also the main character's name, and then Go also means to go.
Mm-hmm.
It's a much better name. I don't know why we changed it. I understand that it doesn't have the same meaning in English, but you could easily explain that to the audience so they could appreciate it too.
Yeah. Speed Racer's fine.
Nah. Anyway.
I clearly got to go to bed or something because
I know.
I'm losing it.
You didn't really have a lot of sleep, as far as I know. Maybe you did.
Yeah. No, I slept like 4 hours or something. Maybe 5.
That's not really a lot.
But I woke up at 3 a.m. I've been awake for 18 hours.
Yeah. So you need to get sleep. It's the end of the show anyway. Hey, Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed the show, you know what to do. Go share it with other people. Grow the audience. And if you really enjoyed it, you can give a donation to streamlabs.com/vomitorium live. It really helps us out. And we'll see you guys no later than Monday for Super Serial Showtime.
Maybe sooner.
Maybe.
Who knows?